I've actually been getting a couple of requests to make a video about the knife that I most prefer, the pocket knife that I most prefer, and I've decided to follow up on those requests and make one of those videos. And I'll explain why I have this very cool looking kitchen knife here in a second as well. But the knife that I most prefer is the Kershaw, anything really by Kershaw. This one I don't remember exactly what it is. I think it might be the Blur, though I'm not 100% sure. But let me go over a few things about this one. This one is 3.5 inches, and this is the knife that I really like the most out of anything. And you'll notice that it is in fact a tanto point, which means that unlike the American style knives, which have that curve that goes like that, followed by the sweep down, this one has a very sharp point, which breaks into an almost straight edge in the back. The reason I choose this one is because the sharper point in this angle makes it a lot easier to penetrate things, whether it be a box or whatever that you're trying to cut. So in any situation, I always think that, for lack of a better term, more penetration is better than less. And that's also the same reason that I chose a fully serrated or fully unserrated blade, so a completely smooth blade, compared to one of the styles that actually has the serrations on the end. So the point of this is to cut and to go in as deep as possible. I normally have no use to cut any branches or anything, so a serrated edge I would just use on a hunting knife or something that I'm going to be out in the woods for. If you think you're going to have a use to actually, saw through something, then you're probably going to want one that actually has the serrations on the back. But for my purposes, I'd rather have the extra 1.5 inches of thrusting space. And that's also the same reason that I chose this. It's a much sharper edge, so if this goes in, this is actually pushing and cutting versus slicing, which is what the smoother blades do. This one, if it's pushing, as you can see, it will just be completely plowing through like a snow plow versus slicing like a carving knife. Now, the cool features I like about this, one of them is the fact that it is a polymer handle, which I've always liked. It also has very nice knurling and stuff on it, which gives you a nice grip, and it just feels really good in the hand. The second is that it requires enough of a force to actually open, to where it's not going to accidentally open, or where there's no chance of accidentally opening and hurting yourself, but at the same time it has a very solid flick open. So you need a good amount of pressure to get it started, but it's nothing that's really too hard to do. And at the same time, you never have to worry with, like you sort of have to do with other knives, of it sort of, I have to actually force it to get stuck, but of it sort of getting stuck like this or getting stuck like this. As you can see, the second you get it to the point of where it needs to go, even if I sort of try to stop it, it's opening. And that's something you're definitely going to need in a high-stress situation. Now, the reason that I have this very cool kitchen knife here is because the company that makes this Kai makes Kershaw knives. They also make Shun knives, which is this very, very cool looking kitchen knife that I have here. And I have to say that just in terms of, the brand and everything they do, the reason I originally chose to get this knife was because I love my Shun kitchen knives so much that it really this was the most obvious choice for me. These knives are damn sharp. They're actually sharper than any German or American knife you can get. Asian knives have always been known for that. But the build quality is impeccable. It has this very cool little gold band going across the back. It has the hammer marks on here that actually help you, reduce drag and everything. But that is related to cooking. As you can see, I have lots of different passions. Guns and stuff are one of them. So I like this so much that I decided to give these guys a shot, and in the same way that these knives are considered pretty much the top tier knives, I would say that when you're paying $50 or less for a knife, and these guys make some pretty expensive knives too, but this guy was something like $40, I think, and that's just because I had no need for a $200 pocket knife. But for a $50, $40 pocket knife, this thing is, phenomenal. I've used it for almost a year and a half now or so, I think. Not 100% sure, but roughly something like that. And it still holds its blade very, very well. It holds the edge very, very well. It sharpens very easily. I think one of the things that I'm worst at is actually sharpening blades, but even with this, I'm able to sharpen it very well. and at the same time it holds that edge very, very well. So unlike some other knives that use subpar steel, and you're caught in a situation where you cut a box open once, or you cut a little bit of tape or chip a little bit of wood once, and all of a sudden this thing can't even cut through a piece of bread, this thing will cut, and I've actually used it when I was moving, it'll cut hundreds and hundreds of boxes apart and still keep on trucking. So that's the end of that. Kershaw knives, my favorite. Shun Kitchen knives, my favorite. Same company. And that is the end of this video.